Good day, everyone. I am tasked to report about the themes and implication of the title, A Time to Kill novel by John Grisham. So the first theme found in the novel was racial prejudice. A major theme of A Time to Kill is racial prejudice, the painful legacy of the antebellum South and the Jim Crow era, and all of the residual structural and institutional obstacles that remain in the New South at the time of the novel's setting constitute the central thematic material of the novel. The reason Cobb and Willard target Tanya in the first place is because she is a black girl, and they feel that they can attack her, even kill her with impunity, and that the community will do nothing to bring her justice. So racial prejudice also plays a huge part in the way Jake Briggs approaches the defense of Carly, and the reason Carly trusts Jake is that Jake earned an acquittal for Carly's brother, which is Lester Haley. So Jake explains to Carly that his case is different because he shot two white men, and an all-white jury will surely feel threatened by a black man who kills white men. So the double standard is clear. But it's not only the white jurors that maintain this unjust atmosphere, but it is also the white politicians and authority figures like the judges. As Judge Bullard presides over a preliminary hearing, his internal monologue is revealed to be extremely racist and prejudicial, so it would be impossible to talk about racism in A Time to Kill without addressing the frequent use of racial slurs in the novel by seemingly every white character, not just the characters that Grisham possessed as virulent racists. The use of racial slurs in this novel, set in the mid-1980s, feels gratuitous and unreflective. In other words, the use of slurs seemed to evade any further discussion and is taken for granted as part of life in the South. However, this portrayal fails to address the fact that at this point in time, slurs had already been undergoing a process of criticism. So the only scene that suggests that white people don't have the right to utter slurs against black people occurs at the end during final jury deliberations, and even that scene resorts to a gratuitous use of slurs. The second one is the perspective. A major question that is asked throughout the book is, what would you do? The question comes in many variations but always refers to the situation of a young daughter being raped by drowned men. What would you do if someone raped Hannah? What would you do to the rapist? If it was your little girl and if it was two niggers and you could get your hands on them, what would you do? So this question is asked to jurors, witnesses, and acquaintances to assess the appropriate response to Carly's actions. So the purpose of this inquiry is to suggest that Carly's desire to kill these men was a natural one that defies race and class. So the question asks its answers to put themselves in Carly's position for a moment and consider things from his perspective. So perspective emerges as a key theme of Time to Kill and emphasized by the narrative style of the book. Grisham uses closed third-person narration and free indirect discourse in order to shuttle between the perspectives of his characters. While he pays Jake's perspective the most attention, the structure allows for Grisham's world to be peopled by a broad cast of characters, each of whose internal monologue is available to the reader. Then, corruption. In Grisham's legal world, corruption is simply an unspoken necessity of operating. Whether someone works for the prosecution or the defense, Grisham's characters believe that the only way to stand a chance is to engage in the same unethical practices as their opponents. So this leads to a morally bankrupt judicial system. Tied up in this process and complicating it even further are the political ambitions of the lawyers and politicians that participate in the system. Winning for them is not only about justice but about furthering their careers. And often in Grisham's novel, media exposure seems far more important to lawyers than actually taking care of the needs of their clients. So while Brigands and Buckley frequently attack each other for lying to the cameras, they both prove through closed narration to be doing exactly that. While this media-driven ambition is seen by both as grounds to attack the other publicly, it is privately and obvious boon. In other words, they both recognize that their behavior is shameful, but in the privacy of their own minds, neither seems to care in the least. So Grisham demonstrates how both judges prioritize the rewards they get from their positions over the responsibilities that their positions entail. The next one is the class. The town of Clanton is de facto segregated by race and then by class. So the structure of the town depends on the notion that certain establishments cater to a specific group of people. So class becomes a major issue in the Haley case, particularly when it comes to Billing and Carly's decision about who will represent him at trial. So, when initially discussing a rate, Carly asked Jake what he would charge someone with a lot of money for a capital murder defense. So Jake tells him he'd charge $50,000, and Carly, shocked at the price tag, asks if Jake has ever received that much for a case. Jake says no, but I haven't seen too many people on trial for murder with that kind of money. This comment, though brief, underscores the huge impact that a person's economic status has on their likely interaction with the judicial system. It is far less likely that a wealthy person, or even an upper middle class person, will have to stand trial for murder or assault. So the last one is the religion. Grisham emphasizes the role of the church in rural southern communities. He alludes to the diminishing role of the church for younger parishioners, and while he typically focuses on the corruption of the judicial system and those who participate in its processes, he also addresses corruption in the church. So Grisham possesses corruption in the church as an even greater transgression than corruption among legal practitioners. So when Reverend Agee withholds the funds that he raised in the name of the Haley family, he is revealed to be a crook on the level of George Ballard or George Hughes. Even more of a crook, perhaps because he takes advantage of his parishioners' faith. As Agee himself reminds outsiders like the NAACP Council, Mississippi parishioners are poor, and black Mississippians are even poorer than their white counterparts. So by keeping fundraising money for himself, Agee is directly stealing from the poor people who look to him for their salvation and pay him because he's convinced them that it is the right thing to do in the eyes of God. And now, let's proceed to the implication of the title. The title itself is a symbol which means that it is the time to end or to stop treating black people differently and unfairly. The title A Time to Kill means an opportunity to kill or end all kinds of discrimination, injustice, and evil. It's time to wake up from being a coward and to fight for our rights. The implication of the title Time to Kill of John Grisham is how the cruelty that happens to a daughter who had been raped, the father is compelled to kill. It pushed the father to put the justice in his hand. It all happened at the courthouse where the hearing of the said case happened. It took a toll on the father's side to not have his daughter protected from all the heinous crime. Given a chance to give his payback to the suspect, he killed them. It's his time to kill given the fact that they first did something awful to his daughter that pushed him to give them their tasteful ending. So that is all. Thank you.